The air in Nagano's old quarter was dense, with the smell of rain and cherry blossoms. Aisha Yuzuki adjusted her coat, pulling the collar up as the drizzle turned heavier. It had been 3 days since the first body appeared at the edge of Kiso River. A young man, barely 20, his throat bruised and his eyes open, staring into the murky sky. The press called him the Nagano Doll because his limbs were arranged unnaturally, as if posed. Aisha had seen her share of violent crime, but this one was different. There was a deliberate artistry to it, as if the killer had been crafting something only they understood. Her instincts as an investigative journalist told her this wouldn't be the last. Aisha had spent the past week in a quiet frenzy, piecing together fragments from police reports, whispering to the few contacts she had left in law enforcement and obsessing over every detail. The city had changed since she left 5 years ago. It was darker now, quieter, like something unseen was coiling around it. Her phone buzzed, an anonymous message. "If you want the truth, follow the strings." The address was an old puppet theater in the outskirts. Aisha's heart raced as she hailed a taxi. She knew the place. Abandoned for decades, it was once famous for its intricate wooden puppets that seemed almost alive. When she arrived, the air was thick with dust and memories. She moved cautiously, flashlight cutting through the darkness. On the stage, a single puppet hung from frayed strings, a man dressed just like the victim. As Aisha approached, she saw a note pinned to the puppet's chest. "Would you dance with me?" A creak behind her. Aisha spun around, but the room was empty, just the puppet swaying gently in the draft. She felt a chill. Someone was playing with her, drawing her into their twisted game. A game that had only just begun. She knew one thing: this wasn't about murder. This was a performance. A story being written in blood and shadows, and Aisha was both the audience and the next act. As she left, she noticed thin wires stretched across the floor, nearly invisible. Someone wanted her to trip, to fall into their trap. A warning or an invitation? Aisha knew she couldn't back down now. Whoever the killer was, they wanted to dance, and Aisha would have to learn the steps before it was too late. 2 days later, another body appeared. This time it was a young woman, posed like a ballerina, with a twisted smile carved into her face. Aisha recognized the pattern, the same eerie precision. Detective Saito, her old friend from the force, contacted her. They met at the scene, exchanging grim glances. "He's escalating," Saito muttered, "and he's leaving you messages." Back in her cramped apartment, Aisha scanned the notes again. The phrase, "Would you dance with me?" gnawed at her thoughts. She rummaged through old files, recalling a string of unsolved murders from a decade earlier. Same patterns, same poses, but in Tokyo. The killer was never caught. Could it be the same person, or a copycat? A new message arrived: dance or die. Attached was a grainy photo of Aisha, taken from behind as she walked to her apartment that night. Panic coiled in her stomach. He was watching, studying her. Aisha couldn't sleep. She retraced her steps, revisiting old crime scenes, speaking to families of past victims. She discovered that all victims had been members of a small theater troupe that had disbanded abruptly after their lead puppeteer vanished. His name, Junji Arakawa. She met with his old mentor, an elderly woman named Kana, who spoke with a trembling voice. Junji loved his puppets more than life. Said they were the only ones who understood his pain. Aisha pushed further. It turned out Junji had been seen in Nagano recently, working odd jobs, blending in. She found a worn flyer for a puppet show happening that evening, in an underground club. It was a long shot, but Aisha went anyway. Inside, the dim light barely revealed the stage. A lone figure performed with a puppet that seemed too real, too human. Aisha's blood froze. The puppet's face was eerily similar to the second victim. She slipped away to call Saito, but the signal was dead. A voice whispered behind her, Enjoying the show? It was Junji, eyes glinting with madness. You came. I knew you would. Shall we dance? Aisha's instincts took over, and she bolted, but he followed, laughing, taunting her through the maze of narrow corridors. When Saito finally arrived, the club was empty. No sign of Junji or the puppet. Aisha sat on the curb, shaking, realizing the dance had only just begun.